welcome. This is Cory Angelette. Welcome to the End of Slavery Summit. I'm here with Dorian Greens. She is an independent dancer, artist, researcher, and natural healing advocate. Her website is doriangreens.com, and she's also got a channel called Connection to Truth. And her other channels are Dorian Greens. You can look up her name. You can find her on the onegreatworknetwork.com as well. We're going to be talking about a really cool topic, art as a key to freedom, and with an emphasis on apparently her dance process and the incorporation of natural law, truth, and freedom to it to guide people out of enslavement. So where do we start and why dancing? That's really unique.
Thank you so much, Cory. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. So I've been dancing since I was 4 years old, and until now, it has been 30 years of dance for me. And at some point, I felt like I had to include important topics in my dance, so in my main expression tool. And later, I found out that I had to speak up as well. So I created Connection to Truth to create videos where I can just use my voice and not just my body expression. So dance and art in general, um, it's something that we can use as a weapon, I will say, to share important messages. And through times and through in history, we have seen this happening in all around the world. And I wanted to share an extract from a book by Fabienne Verdier, who is actually a French artist and who studied in Sichuan in a region, province in China. She went in the 70s, and she was actually the only foreigner to go and study in a university in Sichuan. And at first, they didn't want to let her go. They wanted to let her go with other students in Beijing or bigger cities, and she insisted because she wanted to really meet the traditional masters of calligraphy, Chinese painting in Sichuan. So that's what she did. And in her book, she shares her experience, which is very interesting. And I've translated an extract from her book. Um, I haven't found I don't know if it was translated into English, but I couldn't find a official translation. So I translated a small part of the book that I really liked and that talks about art.
Awesome.
And her master, Huang Yuan, one of her Chinese painting master, Huang Yuan, told her in the 70s that you can change the world even deeply, not through politics, which can only swing between domination and submission of others, but through your art. And he mentions which emperor or chief or has really changed the world. And compared to artists or people who created, um, he mentioned the soul, the plane, the wheel, the clock, the car, the airplane. And at that time, so they had the Cultural Revolution in China. With all what happened, all the artists silenced, all the even martial artists who ran away went to Taiwan,
Hmm.
painters, and art was very, artists were silenced, and even art was destroyed. And that's why actually in Taiwan you can find a lot of art that was saved from this time.
Oh,
So
wow.
people ran away here, and that's why also here you can find many martial arts teachers and painters who kept the art alive. So I'm talking about Taiwan because also I live here. I've been
Okay.
living here for 11 years now, and I'm studying those arts. And and just to continue on that extract from the book,
Yeah.
um, there's one part I translated by scholars, but in French, it's another word. It's savant, and it means someone that has knowledge. So I couldn't find a right exact translation, but here, what I want to say, scholars is not for someone who has a degree, it's for someone who has the knowledge. So I don't want people to be confused and think that people with degrees change things. No, it's people with knowledge and thinkers change the world, artists as well, in a less obvious way, but they are still prolific. So that's
Mm.
just a part of the book. And another part that says that you can nurture your painting, master your art, and you will offer to others instead of imposing on them a thread of thought and an opening to somewhere else. And I think
Mm.
this is very important when sharing any kind of idea or knowledge, message, is to let people think about it by themselves after they get this knowledge. So whether it's through dance, through painting, through art, through our voice, through speaking or poetry or anything you would like to use to spread knowledge and share a message, is to let others think about it, and then you will open a door for them to search more about it instead of imposing an idea and closing all the doors. And this will lead to control in the end. And you cannot expand your mind and be free when
Yeah.
you are under control like this. So I really like this quote from this book by Fabienne Verdier. The book is called Passagère du silence, and there are very interesting experiences that she shares. And yes, so for me, I use dance mainly. And like I said, I also use um, my voice now by speaking, and I will write. So I use as well writing. I will write what I want to say in my videos and read them out loud and share them on Connection to Truth with other things like video filming. I enjoy filming, so I will use that also as a tool to spread the message I want to share. And but dance has been the beginning, has been my first key, I will say, to the first tool I started to use to spread um, knowledge. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
we'll get more into that too. I mean, this is what already you shared, I think is really beautiful, is looking at like all this ancient wisdom. And you're right, it sort of the wisdom that sort of lasts, I could see in the quote that you provided, is the material that wasn't imposed upon the population. So it says like Mao's little red book is not that old and it is already nothing than a collectible item. While other texts, maybe like the Tao Te Ching, which is one that I like, that one also like mentions similar authors and people who are associated with that. I mean, that is timeless knowledge that we're seeing is so relevant today. And
yes,
people, I feel like, so highly underestimate the power of art and all forms of arts, whether it's like, even cooking, but like singing and even music, right? I would say is a form of art, but all these things influence people's minds and they all educate people to some extent. Like they want it, they feel down, they listen to a certain song, they feel down, they like a certain art piece, and according to their emotions and what they're currently going in their life, and then it helps uplift them or helps them feel better. I mean, that is a form of knowledge, something that they're using to help them, and it's teaching them and saying, I can get through this. I mean, so I feel like dance could be that powerful too. Not only you bring more circulation to your body, but you're probably helping your mind at the same time because of that. And you are experimenting and sort of getting more into the rhythm of things. It's like kind of like martial arts too, right? I mean, it has the word art in it. A lot of that is associated with like the Tao, right?
yes, yeah. And it's a good point because, like in the book, what you just mentioned about the Mao's little red book, um, you it's not something people will read and really feel um, that is giving them something like freedom or inspiration. And when you read the Tao Te Ching, or Lao Tzu's book, or Chuangzi, or many other philosophers and books that are older than this political um, text, um, it's still here today. And
Right.
no matter where we're from, we can feel something wherever we're from in the world. There's something very like universal
Hmm.
if you check the Tao Te Ching, and because it's not about controlling the individual with some manipulation and and more propaganda techniques. It's universal for all human beings. It's about the cosmos. It's unifying all of us as human beings. And when you read it, you can feel, you can be inspired by it, you can relate, you can, and over time, not just for a short period of time until now. And yes, art, even like you said, cooking or anything, and that's what we can try to find in ourselves. What do we like to do? Or if we don't know, what did we like to do when we were younger,
Mm.
when we were children? Like for my own experience, I like to dance, I like drawing, and in the end, that's something I realized I cannot give up, no matter um, where how old I am in life or where it's going. It's what keeps me um, balanced and free.
Yeah.
Because in dance, you really and martial arts, you really need the freedom of movement. It's like you said, it's not only blood circulation, or there's more. And martial art, there's also the self-defense principle attached to it, which is very important. And in dance, there's this freedom you can experience. This freedom you can experience when you're not thinking about a result, or it's really the pure essence of dance, like how you experience it when you are a child. You will dance on some music, and you don't care how it looks. You're not trying to make a choreography, make something looks good, or try to catch people's attention, watch my dance. You're just dancing, and that's
Right.
freedom. And when you can experience it again as an adult, you need to experience freedom again to want more freedom. So, or you just need to understand also what is true freedom, and then to want more freedom. And the thing is that now freedom is not really understood, I will say,
Mm.
in in some way. And
Yeah.
some people understand true freedom and want true freedom. And maybe if we experience it in art again, and we really experience true freedom, not art with a result or thinking, maybe experiencing freedom, true freedom in art, will help us to want more freedom
Mm. Yeah, I feel
in our
like
life.
it's
And
like the reason why they call it soul music, right? It's because like you're using your soul, and we say like soulless people don't have like empathy, or like order followers may suppress their conscience and not think for themselves. The person who follows like the latest dance trend is not necessarily making that themselves, and they kind of just follow that trend. And if they can feel that energy, and they have that genuine expression, I think it's great. Like I admit I dance all the time, like, and I think that's good, and people are ashamed of it, right? Like I have that experience where people are like, I don't want to, oh, it's embarrassing. And it's like, are you really expressing your freedom? I think what you really touched on was like a level of uniqueness among the creativity, was like finding out that if you can look back at your past and see like, wow, I'm good at this or that, and if I don't suppress that because of society and because of work and all this other things that tends to hinder our creativity and tends to keep us not doing things we actually want to do. If we find ways to incorporate more of what we want to do, we might feel a bit more sense of freedom and probably happiness at the same time, healthiness.
yes, and also it can help you to heal, because
Mm.
dance has been used as a way of healing in different um, traditions. I would say different people around the world have been experiencing has been have been experiencing dance as the healer. So dance can heal. Dance can also, you have like dance also used as a trance sometimes. Well, you don't use it, but you fall into it, I would say. And then you release traumas, you release some energies, and this is healing you also. You're not keeping this blocked into your body. And like my mother is from North Africa, and dance is part of, I would say, almost the daily life. They would
Mm,
play music and just dance, and between the family members. Then, of course, for big events, weddings, or some special events, but even for no reason, you go visit your aunt, and you will have tea and cookies, and then people put the music, and everybody dance. And
yeah.
so
Wow.
my mother
Beautiful.
will tell, yeah, my mother will tell me she will go into trance, like she will feel that she's like somebody sometimes will have to catch the person who's going into trance, because then from standing up you don't know where you can fall. And so, but she will tell me she will feel really like the moment she goes in that space, the music will take her, and the drums, because usually we use traditional drums.
Mm,
So hearing the real sounds from the instruments will take, and the special rhythm will take you
mm,
into special place, and you can experience the divine, by with this
wow.
true freedom and this healing, this trauma release. And it has been done differently in all around the world, but in the end, dance in its true essence is really healing your body, your mind. Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, people talk about it all the time. I talk to people and they're like, "Man, I don't like the music nowadays," or, "Why are these people dancing and clapping and they're not on their phones back then and they're having much more fun than what we're having nowadays?" And I think it's all sort of correlated with a lot of things we're talking about, right? With like this whole idea of freedom, uniqueness, and expression. And it's something that I've noticed. And I didn't intend to have so many conversations about it with people like yourself, but it's amazing because I'm somebody who likes to express, and I was always curious when I was younger, like why are people not wanting to express? And I was first really shy. I didn't want to express, but then like once I started realizing how it is just like an expression of freedom, and it made me feel great. I mean, honestly, it was like I had to. And my family actually made fun of me. They're like, "He's like the drunk guy on the dance floor," but I wasn't drunk. It's like you were getting this high, this
Yeah.
energy, and you don't know where it's coming from. And some people like do yoga and stuff like that, and they get kind of like a similar energy. Some people connect it to like kundalini and all sorts of different things. It has its roots. Obviously, it has roots in general that we just don't have nowadays. Like you said, feeling real instruments. I think that is like invigorating. It's like the drums that people use before they go to war, because it
I,
inspires the soldiers to get out there and do something.
it's like it awakes the soul.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's funny because when I was little, I never wanted to dance in my family uh, gatherings. I will stay on the chair, and my cousin would try to pull me, and I will grab the chair, and really, I didn't want to. And later, sometimes I would, but I really had to be pushed by my cousins, or I just like to watch, and I never felt too comfortable at that time. But for me, also because, well, in one way, it helped. Like, okay, I was taking dance classes since I was 4, and I was learning ballet, which is very strict. So when I was seeing my family gatherings with dance very free, and for me, my training was like very strict every week, like at least twice a week, dance classes. And probably this also was in my head, and in the back of my head, I would say, in those moments where I would see people enjoying free dancing, and I will maybe stay stuck in my dance training, and the dance I wanted to do was just ballet, and I was not really interested at that moment in my our traditional dances. I was just interested with the Nutcracker choreographies, or so
Yeah.
I was just in my little ballet world, and didn't want to enter that more free in some way. I can say this, those traditional dances were more free than just ballet. Is, you can find freedom inside, of course. I'm not saying that it's not free, but it was more strict with more rules, and I was just more on that side since I was little. So, and not interested also at that time. Now I'm more interested actually in rediscovering our traditional dances, and that's what I started to incorporate in my dance. But at that time, I was not interested and didn't want to participate. So yeah, I was watching, but not wanting to experience those dances. Yeah.
So you mentioned, like, you ask our audience a question. You have a slide that says, "How do I integrate natural law and related topics in my creative process?" And you say you create using your weapon, which is dance and art, and those creations forge a key. So explain what that means here.
Yes. So I started my dance channel just to share dance um, pieces. I would say that I wanted to share, and it didn't start with the intention of sharing knowledge or important topics such as natural law. So at the beginning, it was just more for fun and entertainment, and then I realized that I couldn't really. I mean, I keep dancing for fun and to try to find this to connect with this true freedom in dance, but just creating dance for entertainment and following the making a choreo on that last music, or I was not motivated for that anymore when I really understood that sharing natural law was very important today. And I was thinking, okay, how can I add this in my dance, in my art? So if dance is in my hands and it's my weapon, how can I add those topics into my dance? And how can I forge this key for people to open the door and free themselves with this knowledge of natural law? So I started to gain knowledge that I wanted to share with people, and just to share it with them, I started to put it in form of dance videos and using them as keys I could share on YouTube, online, or everywhere, for people to
Cool.
grab those keys in form of dance videos and then go and open their doors, you know?
Hmm. Wow.
Yes. So then I started to create dance pieces that um, were more um, into this topic of natural law, but also current topics, or sometimes it will be also an experience I just had, and I will be very angry about what just happened, and I will be like, how can I share this? I don't want to share it and just write a Facebook post, for example. Oh, this happened to me today, this and this is wrong, and I really like think we should look at ourselves and do some inner work, So of course sometimes it's good, to just do that. I'm not saying don't share anything on social media in that form, but for me, I was thinking this experience that just happened, I want to share it in a more, um, let's say, powerful way, or maybe in a way that people will understand it without words. So no
Yeah.
matter their language, because they might not understand what I just wrote in English or French, and maybe it's through a form of dance because you're using movement and it's a universal language. Maybe they will
Hmm.
get it, and I will share this in that form in through dance. So no matter what's the language you're speaking, you'll get the message, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll look at yourself after. So there was a dance piece I made that's called the ritual, and I was really angry that day when something happened, and it just of course it's not something that happened in a day. It's those last 2 3 years and repetition of wrong behaviors, and I was like, okay, enough. And I was on my way home, and I just listened to some music, the music I used in the dance video, and I just had the whole video in front of me, just like in a short moment. I knew when I was going to go home, I will set up my space and film that exact video about this topic. And so yeah, it was really fast actually. I did it in one evening, and not even a day for me to have the idea and then put it into form of video. The editing is the longest
Yes.
in creating a dance piece. Yeah, so um, yeah, so it will be like I would say important topics, which is when it well, it's all related to natural law in the end. Those topics about right and wrong, objective morality, and aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions. And so I will put them into uh, different ways, different videos, and again, because without just to have something that can be understood, or at least can be seen without any language barrier. So that's why then I have connection to truth where I really speak. And if you want to know more, I will say it through words. And I have connexion à la vérité, the same as connection to truth, but in French for French speakers. But dance is just the universal language of
Wow.
sharing natural law and related topics for me.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, that's great, and I think people should kind of learn from that and sort of take from that if they wanna produce content themselves, to and I was telling you before, I like to experiment, and so I might wanna do something like that in the future, is incorporate music or dance into something. I mean, I was always thinking about that, to be honest, but I didn't wanna be like one of those TikTok people out there who are, like, making, short little music videos, but I think it is important just to express your freedom, and if we can encourage that in other people, where they get like an actual sense of it. I mean, it's different from just thinking about it. You're also living it, because you're expressing it. So you talk about creating a dance piece, right? On your presentation, it says the process of creation forces me to align thoughts, emotions, and actions, like you mentioned, and therefore is a training in raising consciousness and experiencing freedom on an individual level.
Yes, yeah. So to start my dance training, for example, I will start with a short session of meditation just to focus my mind, but also um, balance my energy and just focus everything back to the center, and to start with the mind, and then balance your emotions, and then to go through the to the action part into the dance practice with your body. So I like to start with really the mind,
Okay.
with bringing everything back to its center, and also to have a clear mind, so you're not I would say disturbed by thoughts while you're dancing. The thing is that we will do that eventually, but we have to train to not let our thoughts affect our dance or our art.
Yeah.
So uh, to go to this creation process with balancing your mind and your emotions, and then to go to the body expression, the movement expression, the action. So yes, and when you practice this, you will be more conscious of your art, of what you're creating. But when you are creating, you don't want to think too much about what you're doing. Actually, just let it connect to that true freedom, express yourself freely. Don't let your thoughts from the day, from yesterday, from next day, from affect what you're going to create, because this will involve what other people think, or, or what just happened. And okay, you can use, of course, you can use the emotions also to create, but you need to understand what you're feeling. So if it's sometimes I will be motivated, I will be inspired by being angry at something, or happy, or sad, or I will use those emotions, but I have to first balance my thoughts, understand my emotions, and then okay, I'm going to use that to create something. And and yes, and to practice this, to practice this alignment of your consciousness, to align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, even in your art, in your daily life, but in
Hmm.
your art too. It's important.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, like, let's say someone is feeling like sad and they're like, well, maybe I can dance or something, you know? Would they put on a sad song or would they put on a happy song to cheer them up? Because wouldn't they maybe want to put on something that they feel like might make them feel better? Or do they want to put on the sad song? Do you think people have to just figure it out for themselves?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Figure it out for yourself, because this will also, like we said, release the trauma or the experience you want to release, the
Mm,
weight you feel in you. Maybe from sadness, listening to a happy song will make you feel better, or you make you feel understand yourself better, because it's not just to escape the
mm.
emotion, but to understand it. Or maybe the sad song might help you to really go deep into this feeling and understand what is it,
Could it make it
the root.
worse? Or.
Well, if it again, it's, yeah, for you to feel, it can make it you can feel worse, but you could be healing even deeply
Mm,
while you're feeling more sadness coming or more
right.
anger, but just let it out. Yeah,
Mm,
let it out in your art, so you're not harming anyone, you're not um yeah, you're not, you can, I don't know what's your art, but you can use your tool, your art tools, to release this anger or sadness, and not take someone, to release it onto them. It's better with your paintbrush or your dancing shoes than onto someone else.
mm.
Yeah.
Would you say, like, from your experience or what you know, the frequency that people tune music to, might have heard of this, like 430 or 2 or 440 or what have you. Do you think that makes any difference when it comes to people's feelings, or is that another individual thing people have to kind of figure it out?
Yes, because if you look at music today, it's made to keep people in a state of it's a tool of mind control as well. They use
Mm.
music to manipulate people.
That proves
And
everything we say as pretty important.
yeah, so that's why when you really listen to traditional instruments, you will feel a
Mm,
big difference than some electronic tones, that some
I see.
in most, like, new music, not just new, but I mean popular music you they put on loop all the time. It keeps you in a state of hypnosis, or just make your brain more imbalanced, and or you don't feel the same. You can experiment it. You can find, okay, if you don't have really real instruments near you, which will be best, but if you have some recording, you can find online about just traditional drummings,
Mm,
or
okay.
flutes. I don't know, but really recorded from people playing it
Like
in
traditional
groups, or
Japanese, like
yes,
traditional.
yeah, or without any electronic sounds,
I
and you
see.
can experiment and see how you feel. You can try to dance on it to see how you feel. But for me, I feel a big difference from the music we hear in, like, top 40 or top 10, like, all the time, and the lyrics, and the way people sing. And yeah, so and then, yes, of course, there's the tone, the frequency, sorry. um you can find you can find just the frequency. If you want to experiment, you find now online many, like, for 32 or 52 hertz. I forgot, there's another one, the solfeggio. I don't remember the frequency exactly, but
They have
you
so
can even
many.
try. Yeah, so many. You can try to dance just on that as well.
Mm,
There's no lyrics, there's nothing, just the frequency, and just let your body move. And
right.
um yes, but definitely, yeah, the frequency matters, yeah, in music, and how
There's
we will feel.
There's a slide I really like that you created called Art and Freedom, and that one talks about like this imagination, which is really important, right? Because if you can't imagine something different, then can you create something different? This is sort of the point that you make for the creative process, because it is creative, right? I mean, only your body you own. That's the whole point of understanding that we're not enslaved and that we need to be free. So when we express that, we are expressing inherently our creativity because we are, you may say, creations of the creator, and that's why we create things ourselves. We're sort of like sub creators, and some of those creations could be good, some of them may not be so good. But I think it's all a matter of understanding what is it that we're creating into this world, right? Is it good? Is it bad? Are we being creative to begin with, or are we just putting out other people's creations instead of our own?
Yes, like you said, we need to be aware of what we're creating,
Hmm.
because we will create something whether it's good or bad, or so we need our to cultivate our imagination in order to first of all be open-minded and see other solutions than the one that is imposed on them, on us, sorry, imposed on us. And for example, that only government is the solution. There will be absolutely no other way to live than having politicians telling us what to do, or king or queen. And with imagination we could also see another way and try to walk a different path that they want to impose on us. And by cultivating our imagination, we can also create in our daily life, through our arts, in whatever we do, something good, something that is right. And that's why it's important to understand natural law, and that's why I'm trying to share it through the way I do. Because to create something good is not to create good art. It will be to be conscious, be self aware, to understand that we are the only one that can rule ourselves. That's what will that's what will lead us to freedom, true freedom. So, and then to create something good. So if we want true freedom, to create something good, we have to really go back to ourselves and to do our inner work, to be self-aware, to be conscious, and be open-minded, and keep our imagination alive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's a lot of people I talk to, and they talk about like how exercise really helps them, just that alone. And imagine incorporating it with dance and music and all these other things, it can get even more powerful, I'd imagine. You mentioned if people can have a tiny experience of true freedom, they will want to expand it into other areas of their life. I like the fact you mentioned that, because it's true. It's like, I want this. This is something I need in my life. And it's like anything else that we find is really essential, right? Like love or family. And it's like you recognize, wow, this is something I need because it's something that is meant to be with us. Right. So it's like we're getting a taste of what freedom is. It's like we want the full taste. We want the cake. So we don't just want bits and pieces. Please, master, can I have some of the cake? No, it's like I want the cake, I can have it. And people always ask about action, like what do I do? What do I do? When like the action that they have is right there in their fingertips in this case, of inspiring other people perhaps to dance with them, and whatever can happen from that is just great energy, right? I mean, when you bring people together, like you said, in like different occasions, whether it's like weddings or events, and we have to hold events to share this knowledge, people may start dancing. And if there's good music too, I mean, that's going to be sort of the common theme. Why not have fun in the process, right? Toward creating freedom at the same time.
exactly. It's important to find this again, because we experience it when we are really not thinking about the outside environment. When we're dancing, if we're not thinking about how we look, what people will think about our dance, or like you said earlier, like, oh, I feel embarrassed if I dance, or I'm not sure if I can move. Everybody can move. You dance how you want to dance. There's, of course, then you will find dance styles and dance techniques, and yeah, it will have to look like this, but just movement, free movement. Everybody has their own free movement, and nobody should be ashamed to
Right.
express that. And this is where you'll find this freedom, and to experience this a little bit will hopefully will make you want to know, to get more true freedom, and it's inside of you. You can feel it when you, like I was mentioning, when you're little and you're dancing, or maybe it was through other forms of art or other experience for each person. But we need to go back and connect to this, to remember what is true freedom, or people who already know what is true freedom. Of course, no problem. We just need to share this, and hopefully people will get more desire to get closer, to have this true freedom around us on our daily lives, and not just asking uh, the masters, give it to me. No, it's nobody can give you that.
Yeah, because it's something that you're sort of born with, you have this freedom. It's just a matter of, are we going to use it, or are we going to suppress it and feel like we have to because we're like told to, and because there's systems and society in place, and oh, I have work and all this. And I think it's interesting because you can connect health with freedom in the same way you can connect a lot with dance as well. It's like you mentioned, oh, I can't dance. I can't do that. People say this, right? It's like I can't be free. It's like, oh, we can't be free. It's a society. We can't live without the government. And what will happen about this? What will happen about that? As if people are just making themselves feel powerless. Like they can't do anything. They can't dance. They can't create change. They can't be responsible for what's going on in the world. I mean, it's like, no, it's fully within an individual's power. I mean, how do you think it got to where it is in the first place? Through individuals. And if we built that, we can definitely tear it down. It's up to our choices.
That's right. That's where you have to understand the layers that were put on you for
Mm,
you to forget who you really are. And then you have to remove those layers, because it's not natural for you to feel like you don't want to move freely. That's not natural. In your nature, you want to move freely.
yeah,
So
it's true.
you have layers on top of you that you have to discover and then pull out one by one. And you will realize that actually you made for dancing or moving. Or I'm not saying you have to be a professional dancer
Right.
and be on top of the ballet technique, and it's not about that, but everybody enjoy moving, because that's freedom of movement. And when you listen to music or sound or rhythm, and naturally you will want to move. You don't know how you have to move. There's no rule, but you will want to move without knowing the really the language of, okay, if it's for a dance form, if that drum rhythm is for this specific move. Even if you don't know the language and the specific move, you naturally will want to move. And you need to remove those layers that cover your freedom, actually, your that cover um this part of you that naturally would feel in tune with themselves, that freedom is a part of them. It belongs to you. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated or through technique, but freedom of movement is for everyone, is part of us.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the body motion stays in motion, right? It's like how the saying goes. And
Yeah.
that goes for our minds as well, right? Are we thinking for ourselves or are we not? It's
Exactly.
it's amazing.
Those layers are put on into your mind at first, and of course they play with your emotions, but it's all a form of mind control. And when you feel like, oh, it's embarrassing to dance, to move, basically, like you said, you don't feel like you can have freedom. You're
Mm,
not free. um it's a form of mind control as well, to keep you enslaved and to never get close to true freedom and to yourself, and break free from this enslavement, you know?
Yeah. And it's like we have so much at our fingertips available to use, right? Like finding all sorts of different types of dance moves to experiment, music to experiment with. And that's sort of like what helped me in my journey a lot. I have to give a lot of credit to it, and I don't give it enough, is the music. I've discovered different types of genres that I've never thought I'd find. And I talk to people and they're like, what is down tempo? What is trip hop? That's what I listen to, But because I found something that I like, and so what, nobody else really knows about it. I found it through just discovering new music. And that's probably the reason why I wasn't dancing to the other music because I found something that I actually enjoyed. So you also have to like maybe invigorate that imagination, to become creative more. Maybe other people dancing would inspire you, for example, right? Or other people seeing other people do it. And I think that's why, I looked at your channel. I'm like, wow, the aesthetics, it's very inspiring for people who are interested.
Thank you. It's important to find also your your own, I would say, your own voice in dance.
Hmm.
Find what you like to listen to. What uh, Be free to experiment how you want to move. Sometimes I ask myself, how was I dancing when I was little? Because I love to just put the music out loud in my bedroom, and it's the first thing I will do after school. I will put the music on before I put my backpack on the floor, or like first thing I was just excited to put the music on and dance. And often I wonder, because those are the parts that were not recorded. I have records of the ballet performance, all very well orchestrated, like very well organized, but I have nothing from my alone time dancing in my bedroom when nobody was watching and I was
Right.
doing my whole show,
Yeah.
and creations. And but I was wondering, how was I dancing? How was my body moving before getting too much, um, I would say, vocabulary from other teachers, and
Mm.
your natural way of moving. And because when you're a child and you dance, you, especially alone in your bedroom, and you will dance like the most natural way and unique way that belongs to you, that
Mm.
only you can
Yeah.
express, and you don't think at all. There's
Yeah.
no um, control coming from your head on your movement. And then it's for people to find music they like, how they want to express. And then, of course, not just in dance, what is the tool you want to use to create something good? After you become conscious, aware of your sovereignty as well, aware that you are your only self owner, ruler, self monarch, and then you can have this freedom around you, outside, inside of you, and create something good. So, what can you use if you want to use an art form? Writing, reading, or poetry, dance, music, or combine some of them.
Right.
Filming, I don't know. There's so many we can create, so many things we can create and experiment, and then you will find what resonates with you, what
Yeah.
connects, what speaks to you, and you will be able to express this art form and express the topics you want to share. What I would like to say as well is that if you're an artist or someone who wants to go back and connect to their art, maybe they liked to do something when they were young and they stopped for many years, go back to it. And if you want to use it to create content, use that, experiment with it, because we need more people to speak or share um, about what's going on, or how to heal ourselves, or to understand natural law. And why not using these tools or these weapons, like we were saying, to spread the message and maybe touch more people? Because we shouldn't be the minority speaking up, in my opinion. We should be a majority
Yeah.
speaking up, and we shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm like one of the only ones speaking up, and maybe it's risky, or this kind of thing. Of course, you have to do it without fear, but in those times, we should be a big group of people speaking up about what's going on, because many people can feel there's something wrong.
Right.
And even if you're not sure exactly, try to express it through art, through, again, whatever you want to use, writing, or, but this will inspire people also to step towards this change, towards this true freedom. And so maybe if art can help people to spread more knowledge, share more content, um, please do so. Experiment, and don't be afraid about what people think. Usually people who will criticize or laugh at what you're doing, they're not doing much. So
Consumers. Yeah.
yeah, so don't worry about what they say or think.
Right. And the
And
right people will find you, like accordingly to what you produce.
yes, and art, if you like, to express yourself through art, do it no matter what people think. Really, it's because if you feel happy or free, just if you feel free when you're doing it, don't stop doing it. Like, I know for sometimes I stop the drawing or painting for some time, and when you go back to it, you feel like I should have never stopped. Like, or there was a time for me because I was doing dance, and when I wanted to study martial arts in high school, I told my father, I want to learn kung fu. And he said, well, is the dance school or kung fu? But not both. And I had dance in my public school. I had contemporary dance classes. So I was thinking, okay, then I stop the dance school and I go to Kung Fu. And he was surprised because he didn't expect me to stop dance. I had danced for like, so I was like 16. So from 4 years old to 16, I never stopped the dance school. But I stopped
Hmm.
for martial arts. And then when I went back into dance years later, I stopped the martial arts. And I always felt like something was missing when I was doing only martial arts or only dance.
Hmm.
And I realized later that I cannot just stop the martial art or stop dance. I feel unbalanced, or I just need a good balance of doing both.
Hmm.
And every time I would feel like something was missing or I should have not stopped because I missed it. I would get martial arts again. I would feel, oh, I've missed you. Why I've left you for so long. So connect to what you like to do. Maybe there's something you're already doing, keep doing it. Something you were doing younger and you want to go back to it. And if you're very busy with okay, if you're already a content creator, just doing um, podcasts, for example, I'm just giving an example, but you want to do more art, then do it a little bit at least. So you don't disconnect completely from
Hmm.
it. And maybe this can give you a balance so you don't feel overwhelmed with one. And yeah, I think it's about balancing what you're doing,
Yeah.
and being free in what you're doing, no matter what they try to do in our daily lives, trying to control everything around us. We need to stay free in our art, in our way of expression.
Right.
Even if it's just speaking up, this has to be free.
Yeah.
This cannot be controlled. We need to keep this freedom as much as we can. And um, this
And
is
that's
our inner
proof.
connection.
It's
Sorry?
proof of our freedom.
Yes, and this is our inner connection. So we cannot let them um, stop this. We cannot let them take this from us, this inner connection we have with our voice, our body, our thoughts. And yeah, so I think it's important, especially today, to yeah, keep this expression through art, or
Yeah, totally.
well, yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, because like it really is. It's like reflective of society. You know, if they have a lot of arts and a lot of dancing, you can tell it's a society that is generally moral or happy because otherwise they wouldn't be dancing, they wouldn't be singing. It's like it's all correlated. Their good health, their good mentality, and the good order of society. So keeping that up is a matter of understanding perhaps, you know, what is it that is degrading society so often in history, and we see it is due to the lack of morality, and we do see there is a connection between governments. So let me ask you, if you don't mind, some of your personal experience with this thing we call statism, the belief in authority, that some people have this magical right to rule, that they sort of just pull out of hat and say, "Hey, this is something we got." But if we can convince enough people, then they'll believe it. So how did you get out of this mentality? And I'm assuming art and dance was probably part of that process.
Well, for me, I would say that I have a direct experience because I grew up with a father who worked in the police.
Hmm.
So my father is an order follower, and he's retired now, but I grew up with this belief in authority that was pretty strong. The only thing I would say that quite balanced it was that my father loved nature.
Hmm.
So he lived for some time on a sailing boat. Some many times in his career he tried to escape this work, and he was
Hmm.
also sick from this work. Anyway, so he left very early, but his belief in authority was very strong. Anyway, so uh, yes, so I've struggled with some situations as well with art and his belief in authority. Where, for example, when I wanted to go to high school, I wanted to go to a high school that had an art class, and he didn't want me to go to this high school. I had to go to a high school with languages. So that's why then I study more languages. But I always try to find a way to get art in my studies and have dance classes around. I would organize it myself. Like I will register to the dance class and to the art. Find like my studies later were language, literature, and civilization in Chinese. So in China studies and Taiwan, and we studied art also and literature. And so I always found a way to go through it to find my way to go back to art. And also one thing that kind of saved me, I would say, that is like he loved dance, especially ballet. So he
Hmm.
will push me to dance classes, and that's what yeah, so that was good. But then yes, this belief in authority and in the state, and that the higher hierarchy is what is on top of you is what decide for you. That was for my father. So for example, when I wanted to go to that art classes, I mean that high school with art classes, why my father put me in the other one? Because he asked a friend of him that was let's say a director in a school. So for him, this person had was higher in the hierarchy. Let's say he had more knowledge that he didn't have. So he went towards the hierarchy and took this note. This person said this high school is better, so you're going to this one. So it was not like
Hmm.
what you want to do. Is the hierarchy says this one is better, this one
Yeah.
has more like not good results, or anyway. So I've seen this a lot in my life, where authority is the or the state, you know, government is the has the last word, you know. They say we have to do this, we have to do this. And
Hmm.
on my mother's side, she will tell me that 9/11 was an inside job when I was 13 years old. So I was very like I was in a double I would say I could see both ways, and I started to see different things. Like, okay, I don't even realize what is 9/11 at that age. I don't really, I didn't really care. I didn't really realize what it meant, but I would hear her questioning things a lot. and she will question authority, like when it's wrong, when my father would not question authority. So again, it's my parents didn't live together, so I would have really like two different worlds,
Hmm.
and this made me, I would say, aware of this way of thinking and that way of thinking where we question things, and this way where the authority has the last word. And I usually didn't really agree with that. I would disagree a lot when some things will would happen and authority will be the last option or the only option, and that the government will have the last word, and when you actually will be suppressed, your what you want to do is less important than what they say you should do. So for me, I was feeling this was off, and without understanding really who was on ruling the world, without understanding anything deeply, but I was feeling from this direct experience that why my feelings or my uh, desire, I would say, my passion, is less important than what the authority or the hierarchy will say. And so this maybe at that age started to plant seeds in my head that authority is not, or this government, this hierarchy is not right, that it is not right that they tell us what to do, and especially when you have to suppress yourself, like like you don't care about us or me, or when when this happens. And yeah, later, of course, I found Mark Passio's work, which put the pieces of the puzzle very clear all together. And then you start to realize not only what's happening outside, but what is happening inside of yourself. And then I could understand what happened to my programming, the programming of my parents, and why they're like this, and why other followers think like that, and how the state, how the government is really doing a lot of work to control people's minds, to unbalance our brain, to keep us into mind control, and to keep us slaves.
Hmm.
So when I found his work, I was not, how can I say, not, I was not rejecting it, because it answered a lot of questions from this direct experience with my father, who is an order follower, and my mother, who was questioning and who will tell me uh, things like the 9/11, and
Yeah.
yeah.
How did
And then,
you? Sorry, I just wanted. I was asking, like,
yeah,
how did you find Mark's work? Like, just because I found it randomly through research. I don't know how you found it.
yeah, actually, my husband sent me showed me a video,
Hmm.
and someone sent it to him, and he was telling me, "Oh, I found this guy. His work is really good. It's amazing. You need to listen." And the first thing I watched was the Unholy Feminine presentation,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Wow!" And he was telling me, "Okay, I can help you with some English words because there's some. It's quite long, so it's intense to watch this only in English." Uh, but I found the work very interesting and mind opening, and then I started to research more and to understand more of, okay, authority. Okay, I understand now why this is so harmful, because I could feel the pain from authority, from this belief in government, but I couldn't say what it was really, and I could see, um, I could feel the pain also from a parent who is an order follower, um, but I couldn't understand what was done to his brain, to his mind, what program he received. I had no idea. So I thought he was just doing a job, or like he's just. I wouldn't even think too much that his job will be such a brainwashing job, and I would understand then also why my mother um, would think that way, and yeah. So it opens a lot of doors, and he created content, that were keys I could use to open my doors and understand, you know? So
Yeah.
his way of creating content is also creating keys for people to take the keys by themselves. Nobody can put it in their hands. They have to grab the key he's creating and then open the door and then free themselves, free their minds, free their soul, you know, and by understanding, okay, this is the reality I have to face. This is what is really going on. Now, what do I have to do internally? Because it's not just looking what's happening outside
Right.
and it's going back and remove those layers
Yeah.
of mind control, you know, those yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, incredible. I'm always very interested in people's like journeys, and how they really come to understand everything. Um, and seems to be Mark Pashio's seminar does seem to really make a lot of big difference in a lot of people, and it just shows you how like one person can make a big difference, and if they put enough effort and time into that. And of course, he also had a lot of life experiences, but he felt the need to express that freedom of like, I need to get this knowledge out to everybody. Instead of just keeping it suppressed or for certain individuals, he's like, I need to get this out to everybody. That's what he understood, and so he used it, and boom, now you have all this art and creativity coming from it. It's incredible. I'm so glad to meet you and find out more about everything that you're up to. I really like the whole message of art for creativity and in creating the world that we want, literally creating the world we want. So thank you very much for joining as a speaker for the summit, and I'm glad to
Thank you
have
so
you and
much.
others. There's some others that talked a bit about art, but they haven't gone into dance as much as you have. So I definitely recommend people check out your content and your website, doriangreens.com. That's DORIANE greens.com. And then you also have
Thank,
the Connection to Truth channel. And you're also on the onegreatworknetwork.com. And so, yeah, thank you for joining. This is the end of
thank you
Slavery
so
Summit.
much, Cory.
Is there anything else you want to say or put out for the
I
audience?
would say I want to say thank you, Cory, for the work you're doing as well, and for inviting me today. It's really a honor for me, and for people watching. I hope everybody can remember that they're born free, and that you can go back to finding this freedom if you've lost this connection, and whether through art, through whatever you enjoy doing, and so we can keep spreading this message, and hopefully that more people will understand true freedom so we can really experience true freedom around the world, you know, on this planet. I mean,
Right,
it's important. There's no life to enjoy if there's no freedom.
right.
Yeah.
More important than property, right? Or or health or safety. I mean, freedom
Oh, yeah.
gives you all of that, the ability to live your life. People say life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and they're like, what about property? And if you put it in the right order, as Mark says, he says freedom comes first. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate having you and sharing all the information. Like I said, everybody check out your content, and thank you very much for watching, everybody. The End of Slavery Summit. I'm Cory Angelot. Take care.
Thank you.